There is a mental health epidemic here in this country. The film Bedlam is premiering at Sundance this year, and joining me here on the couch, Park City Television, is Dr. Kenneth Rosenberg. He is director of the film. Patrisse Cullors, she is a subject in the film, as well as Peter Miller, who's a co-producer. Welcome to Park City Television.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you guys here. Peter, I'm going to start with you. Will you give us a quick overview of the film and tell me why, as co-producer, you became involved with this project?
This project is kind of a fascinating and miraculous combination of the passions of Ken Rosenberg, who is both a filmmaker and a psychiatrist, and who has been thinking his entire life about the question of serious mental illness, which comes from both a professional and a personal place. And he'd been working for years and years following the lives of seriously mentally ill patients and families in Los Angeles. And I had the privilege of coming along and joining him and telling this story, a story that we hope will reach a wide audience. We know it's going to be on public TV, and we feel like this is an urgent and neglected issue that we really have to get out to the world.
I 100% agree with that. My family's been personally involved with issues with severe mental illness as well, so I very much applaud this film, this project. Let's show a quick clip that, well, it's actually, we have the trailer for it, so let's take a look. So, Dr. Rosenberg, yes. You've been a filmmaker almost longer than you've been a psychiatrist, also an author. What made you decide to combine your passion with psychiatry, what you've written, other films you've done, with this project where you immersed yourself into hospitals, prisons, homeless camps? It became personal, correct? What made you decide to do this?
Well, when I was in medical school, I went to medical school to become a psychiatrist and had no intention of being a filmmaker or an author for that matter. But in medical school really didn't have a whole lot to do with psychiatry in the beginning. And so I decided one summer I'm going to do something completely different that had nothing to do with medicine, and that was making films. And I learned how to make films, and since then have made films about families dealing with tragedies like serious mental illness. I think that this is an epidemic, as you said, in this country, and it's an underrepresented problem. 1 in 4 families experience serious mental illness. 50% of us need psychiatric care at some point in our lives. This is America's great secret. This is my own family's shame. My sister, unfortunately, passed away from serious mental illness. But that's a common problem in America. Over 15 million families have someone with serious mental illness. Probably 50 million families or more have someone with a mental illness. So I wanted to bring this to light as a filmmaker, as a psychiatrist, as a writer, and really let the nation know that this is unacceptable, utterly unacceptable.
Your plan was to film this quickly, but you realized that a moment would not do it justice, because as mental illness is a journey, this film needed to be a journey. Tell me a little more about that. Well,
I decided early on that this was not going to be a film about families. This was going to be a film with families. And I was going to follow those people, get to know their families. And that's how I got to know Patrisse. I interviewed her brother in the emergency room. We interviewed him with releases with many other patients who he filmed in the ER. And originally we thought, okay, that's our film. People in the psych ER, what's their lives about? It's exciting, it's interesting, but I realized it wasn't enough. I needed to work with families and really understand the depths of their illness and travel with them through time. And that's how I met lovely Patrisse, to my right.
Which is where Patrisse comes in now. Patrisse, you're co-founder of Black Lives Matter, best-selling New York Times author, incredible resume, but your involvement in this project combined that as well as a personal, very deeply personal involvement with a family member. Tell me about that.
Well, I became involved in the project before I even started Black Lives Matter, before I became an author, and really I was working at my local organization trying to stop a mental health jail. My brother, Monty Cullors, who's also featured in the film, has been completely neglected by Los Angeles healthcare system, and in fact was brutally beaten by the sheriff's department when he was 18 years old inside the county jails. That's where he was actually diagnosed, inside the Twin Towers. When I met Ken, my brother was in a very serious manic episode, and my mother and I have been sort of the main caregivers for my brother since us learning about his illness, and we've spent the last pretty much 2 decades advocating on his behalf while also trying to create a community where he could get the care that he needs, and also fighting for Los Angeles to be the city and the county that really does care for not just people like Monty, but people that suffer like Monty.
So it really seems like your mission with Black Lives Matter, what you have written, it's about holding police accountable, which really combines this mental health epidemic. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, what we know about many of the people who are harmed, killed, and their involvement with law enforcement, many of them have mental illness. And it's one of the scariest things that I am thinking about, especially when my brother is in an episode. Is he going to end up being another hashtag? And it was one of the biggest reasons why I started Dignity and Power Now, my local organization in Los Angeles, as well as Black Lives Matter, because I was thinking about people like my brother. I was thinking about the families who end up having to be the psychologists, the social workers, the crisis managers, the case managers, and literally most of us are not trained to do so. No. And so this film tells the story of people with serious mental illness, but also tells the story of the families who are suffering as well, because we aren't getting the support that we need.
Just so true, so true.
I think also to dovetail on what you're saying, I think it's not only the families don't know what to do, the psychiatrists know what to do. That we really are lacking treatments, we're lacking basic research. The drugs we use are 40 to 50 to 70 years old. We are nowhere in mental illness where we should be. We're not, and other important illnesses, breast cancer, HIV, have come so far because they've had advocates.
Exactly.
And that's what we're hoping this film will create. More Patrices. I mean, Patrice is changing the world, but we could use more people to change the world like her, and that's precisely the purpose of this film.
Well, so much we could unpack with this film. I'm so excited to see it here at Sundance. It's a story that needs to be told. Peter, I'm going to give you the last word quickly. What's the takeaway? What do you want people to get from this film?
We need to talk about this issue. We need to know about this issue. America's treatment of the seriously mentally ill is insane. The fact that our biggest psychiatric care facilities are our 3 biggest prisons. The fact that we have hundreds of thousands of homeless mentally ill people on the streets every night is a scandal. But we don't talk about it. We don't talk about it because of shame, but we have to talk about it to change it.
We do. Well, it is an honor having the 3 of you here. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy Sundance schedule to join us here on Park State Television. Please keep us in touch about this film. I know it's going to go far.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the film is Bedlam. It is a documentary at the Sundance Film Festival. You don't want to miss it. We have much more coming up on What's Real after this quick break.